it's all about the reality that you exist in that dictates, say, your relationship. Okay? So the key is to move out or move into a possible reality that's more functional for you. So if you're listening to me on 18 days or Mass on Sundays or, a private session, sometimes, a lot of times I might go, well, it's a space-time issue. So this top level issue that you have is a space-time issue. And let me just explain. Anything that happens to you that is not conducive for you to grow and expand is a space-time issue. Okay? And you might go, well, I just need a better relationship. And I would go, well, that's a space-time issue. But that reasoning or that solution is a top level, say, solution for you. And that's the level that I work at. So bringing it down for you, I would suggest that, you need to be more in your body, or you've heard me say spatial referencing. It's all about you pulling you into, say, the one reality that is important to you, or the one reality that, say, functions well for you. Okay, so let me explain that in a different way for you. And I'm throwing all these things out for you because space-time, it's not like a one sentence answer for you. Okay, we have to understand, say, multiple facets of it for you to understand why this is so beneficial for you. And this is why XI, or the XI protocol, is so dynamic and so expedient on, say, solving your issues, because again, it goes back to the top level solution on why you have issues. Okay, so let's talk about realities and what realities are. Okay, so there's a reality in you, and I know, if you watch, there's so many movies out there, right? On like realities and space-time and so on like that, and they might be accurate, but they have the right gist. So let's just clarify what realities are. So in one reality that you exist in is that you could have, and we'll use relationships, you have a reality, or that you exist in, that you could have a fantastic relationship, right? Everything's, say, perfect for you. There's another reality that exists that you could have a terrible relationship. So those are the extremes, okay? And then there's a ton of realities in between those two extremes that you could, say, lock yourself into, or exist from, or operate from. So that is, and that's based on, say, space-time. So say that, you have a terrible relationship with your spouse, you're always arguing about something, okay? So you would fall into, say, a possible reality that you exist in within those extremes, right? So no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how many rule sets that you put upon the place, or no matter how many date nights you do or anything like that, it's all about the reality that you exist in that dictates, say, your relationship. Okay, so the key is to move out or move into a possible reality that's more functional for you, say, a better reality for you, that, say, you're more close or more united, or connected, or intimate. The same way happens with wealth. Like, Moss, why can't I attract wealth? Or why can't I hold on to wealth? Why does it just keep slipping away? Because, again, it's a space-time issue. So going back to that example, say on relationships or wealth, for example, there's a wealth that you do properly, right, where you don't destroy yourself, and then there's very abusive wealth. Again, very proper relationships and very abusive type relationships, and in between there are gradients of how you see, and those gradients, again, are called realities that you might have heard of. So that's a true definition of a reality. Space-time, so what does that have to do with space-time? So space-time dictates on what reality that you live through or you live from. Okay, so if you don't know exactly, say, what coordinate, and I don't want to get too much into the science, but space-time is a fourth dimension. Okay, you've heard of the three dimensions that we exist here, right? We're not like flat objects that would be a two-dimensional. It's got length and width, but we've got depth. Again, three dimensions. The fourth dimension dictates, say, what reality that you exist in. Okay, and that's why it's so important to understand why space-time is the key to answering or solving any problem that you have. So let me define space-time for you, okay? A very quick answer, again, I'll do a lecture series on space-time and getting into, say, quantum mechanics and getting into, the laws of physics and gravity and so on, from an XI perspective, which will actually help a lot of physicists understand, again, gravity and how space and time work together. So space-time is a fourth coordinate. It dictates how you see the 3D consciousness here. So this reality is three-dimensional, okay? Again, it's got length, width, and depth, right? And when Einstein said that if it wasn't for space-time, all things would happen at once. And that's true. Everything happens at once, or the possibilities of everything happening at once. You being born, you being dying could happen at the exact same time, by the way, if there wasn't space-time. So space-time is really, say, a matrix that allows time to function in sequential order, okay? Another way of putting it in is if you think of a fish, okay? Its environment is water, but it doesn't know that it's in water. If you think about that. We as humans have an environment that we exist in. It's not just, say, atmospheric pressure, it's not air or anything like that. Our environment is space-time. Obviously, water is within that space-time construct. So you have a space-time or an environment that we exist in that, say, creates motion, it creates realities for you, or dictates which realities that you exist in. It basically tells you where exactly you exist, or where exactly you will render the possible realities that exist here today. So let me give you an example. Say that, and again, there's so much depth in here, I'm just trying to narrow it down to simplify it. Say that you are out of sync with, say, the universal clock, or how time works. And again, time is not based on, your watch or, your phone settings. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how the planets orbit, how, again, your cell structures, or how your body releases chemicals, how your cells activate itself, how you grow into, different ages, what hormones you release at different ages. That's the time. Again, it's very separate from how humans see time or clock time. Okay, very, very different, but it's a universal time that, say, again, coordinates or synchronizes every aspect of the universe here, right down to, say, a single cell bacteria, or right down into, say, a grain of sand, and even, right down into the atoms. So an atom, the way the electrons, go around the atom, it's based on space-time, okay? And we're dictated by that. So back to our example. If space-time is, say, a nice matrix to create, say, linear time for us, linear time and space, that's what space-time is. It creates, or, say, harmonizes all the possibilities into, say, a linear fashion for you. So time will experience, or you'll experience time, say, in a more, a linear fashion, or a sequential fashion. If it wasn't for the space-time, it would happen at once, all of it. And all the possibilities, or all the possible realities that you could exist in, would happen at once too. So space-time puts it in, not only in sequential order as, say, time, right? Like your clock ticking, that's time. It also puts in sequential order this way. So space-time would go, say, this way, say left or right. Okay? And time never goes backwards, by the way, although some physicists go, well, we've created time going backwards. It's really, it doesn't function that way. It's always moving forward. So it sequences how time works, okay? And then within time, it sequences how realities work according to the time frame that is. So let me give you an example. Say you're 20 years old, okay? So that's a time construct, right? You're 20 years old. There's certain things that you can do as a 20-year-old. Okay? Some of them is, well, you could die at 20. You could get married at 20. You could have a possibility to go to college at 20. And there's certain things like only say an 18, 20, or 21-year-old can do. Okay? Now, as time goes by, again, those are possible realities that you could live from. Okay? And then as time goes by, say you're 40 years old now, or 50 or 60 years old. Well, some of those realities that were possible for you in your 20s are obviously gone for you, because again, those realities say shift with time, if that makes sense for you. So again, those realities are no longer for you. Okay, another way is that, say that you're born. Okay, you're an infant, maybe a better example because it's more more, say, concrete. Say that you're born. Okay, you were born at a certain time. So again, time construct. And then you're born. So that was a reality that you existed in. Okay. Now, when you're born, there are possible realities, again, that could exist in that time frame for you. Again, you could choose to, say, die, or you could get killed, or your mother nourishes you well, or your mother doesn't nourish you well, and all those things, right? Obviously, you're an infant, so you have to be taken care of. Okay? There's certain things that infants can only do because, again, it's in that time construct. Now that you're, say, in your 20s or 30s or 40s, there's certain things that are out of your realm or out of your reality that you can't do because, again, time has moved forward for you. Those realities have, say, ceased to exist in your time frame, and you can't go back and again, you can't go back and do some of the things that you did as an infant. Those realities are closed off for you. Okay? If it wasn't for time or space-time, you could literally be 60 years old and feel like an infant and do all the things that infants do as a 60. Or you could do it at the same time. Again, you could die and you could be born at the same time if it wasn't for space-time. So space-time, again, is a construct that puts in sequential order time and then the possibilities within that time frame, or the possibilities or realities within that time frame in sequential order as well.